Chapter 6, the gift upon the altar. The first bloodline, Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, as taught by Samson. There are two ways a man's work can be known: by the fruit of his hands and by the fire in his heart while he labors. I, Samson, have seen both. I have seen men swing a sword with skill but no conviction, and others who would rather break their own bones than leave a task unfinished. And so it was with the first brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain, the firstborn, carried the smell of the soil in his very skin. His hands were square and strong, his forearms roped with the memory of turning earth that resists the plow. The seasons had taught him the language of the land, the stubborn pause before a seed sprouts, the sigh of a ripe stalk bending in the wind, the whisper of rain that comes too late or too soon. He loved order, rose straight as a soldier's spear, boundaries marked so no root crossed into another's claim. Cain's word was a word of measure, and he kept it so. Abel, the younger, walked a different road. Or rather, he followed many roads, the ones his flocks made through meadow and hill. He was quiet in the way a river is quiet before the falls, a stillness that hides its own strength. His eyes learned the colors of health in a lamb's fleece, the tone of contentment in a ewe's call. His hands were not calloused in the same way as Cain's, but they bore their own marks: small cuts from shearing, scratches from thorns, pulled away from wool. He lived with his animals as a shepherd lives, apart from the plow, always moving, always watching. It was in those days that Adam taught his sons the old truth. When you have gathered the best of your labor, you bring it to the Almighty. Not because the Almighty hungers, the one who shaped the stars is not in want, but because a man's heart is measured by what he is willing to give away without demand of return. The place was simple: a rise in the land where Adam had long ago stacked stones, the same stones that had felt the heat of the sun when the flaming sword still burned in sight. Here the family gathered, not as farmers and herdsmen, but as children of the dust who had been given bread. Cain came first that day. His baskets were full, heavy with grain, the heads bent with ripeness, the oil of crushed olives catching the light. He arranged them with care, building a pattern of abundance. Here the golden wheat, there the barley, darker as evening shadow, clusters of grapes spilling over the lip of a clay vessel. It was a table a king might envy. Abel came after, and his gift was smaller to the eye, but not to the heart. He led a young lamb, one without blemish, his fleece clean and soft, his eyes clear. There was no hesitation in him. The knife was sharp, the motion swift, and the lamb's life poured out upon the stones before the fire took it. The smoke rose, carrying with it the scent of sacrifice, not just of flesh, but of a shepherd's trust that the Almighty would give again what he had given away. I was shown this, and I tell you, the air changed, not with wind, not with sound, but with the weight of attention. The Almighty looked, and his gaze fell upon Abel's offering with favor. The fire took it as if it had been waiting for this exact gift since the first dawn. The smoke curled upward, straight and sure, into the open sky. Then the gaze turned to Cain's. The baskets remained as they were. The fire flickered but did not bend toward them. The smoke rose but sluggish, curling back upon itself before it could climb. It was not rejection born of spite, but the mirror of the heart that gave it. For Cain had brought much, yet not the first, not the best. He had brought what was easy to spare. The rows in his field still held better than what lay upon the stones. Cain's face tightened. His jaw worked. I have seen that look in warriors passed over for honor, in men whose strength is questioned before others. It is the look that turns the air cold around them. The voice spoke to him, not in wrath, but in warning. Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Mark those words. Sin is crouching. I have seen lions crouch before the leap, muscles drawn tight, every fiber ready to spring. I have felt their breath before they strike. This was such a moment. Cain stood at the edge of a choice, and all the strength he had built in the field would mean nothing if he could not master the shadow rising in him. Abel stood nearby, not knowing that his nearness would soon place him in the path of that shadow. He watched the smoke from his altar drift high and true, unaware of the thoughts winding themselves like thorn vines in his brother's mind. The stones cooled, the fire burned low. Adam gathered the offerings that remained. Eve laid her hands on each son's shoulder. Cain's was stiff beneath her touch. Abel's was warm and untroubled, and so they went from the place. Two brothers walking away from the altar, the distance between them longer than the space their feet measured. I will not yet tell you of the field, not yet of the words spoken, or the silence kept, or the moment when the earth learned the taste of human blood. That is the turn ahead, and we are still on the road toward it. But hear me, the moment of offering is the true battle. The field only finishes what was already decided at the altar. And when we come to that field, you will see how quickly a brother can become a stranger, and a stranger, an enemy,